Howdy, my name is Nonat, and aren't the Magus and Summoner classes from Secrets of Magic just the coolest things? Don't you wish your character could be like 1/5 of a Magus or Summoner? Well then, boy do I have the archetypes for you! Just like every other base class in Pathfinder 2e, the Magus and Summoner also have archetypes that you can take regardless of your base class, so long as you have the appropriate base stats. So how are these archetypes? Are they cool? Are they just as good as a full-on class, maybe a little bit weaker? Let's talk about these archetypes and my exact interpretation and thoughts on them. Spoiler alert, one of them is a lot more interesting than the other. Starting off, the Magus Dedication is... Who are you? I'm the you that talks about sponsorships, and I have a job to do. I guess I should go.
I think
You've
you
got
should.
some... Do I just... Yeah. I'll just go over here then. Anyway, today's video is brought to you by Roll for Combat, our generous sponsor, and did you know that their entire Battle Zoo collection of books Kickstarter has a bunch of unique stuff in it for Pathfinder 2e. I'm talking new ancestries, I'm talking new subsystems, I'm talking a full-on adventure Jewel of the Indigo Isles. These books are all being worked on by Roll for Combat's design team, which is a combination of some freelancers and some designers who work for Paizo, such as Mark Seifter working on the Dragon Ancestry book. And right now, you can go to their Kickstarter using the link below and in the pinned comment to go to the Kickstarter and pre-order this collection of books. Not only will you get early PDF access to these books, but it'll also be cheaper because once they are fully released, the price is going to go up slightly. So if you want to get digital copies early and pay less for your physical copy, go to the link in the description and pre-order the Battle Zoo collection of books right now. There is so much cool stuff coming. I've gotten some inside looks at some of the new ancestries and stuff, and I gotta say, it's really, really cool. Even the artwork. Can we take a second and just put mechanics aside? Look at the artwork these people have going on. This is Pathfinder Paizo level artwork on display in their third-party supplement. Give them some support, show them some love, and pre-order the Battle Zoo collection today. Thank you to Roll for Combat for sponsoring this video. Okay, I'm done. You can go. Yeah, he'll be back. All right, thanks, guys. Okay. Oh, is he done? Oh, okay, cool. I'll eat that later. Before we get into either of these archetypes, we do need to go over exactly how they work. As you know, the Magus and Summoner both level up their spells differently. They have bounded spell casting, giving limited spell slots. As such, the archetypes do as well, making these the only two bounded spell casting archetypes, which grant spell slots in a different way. These feats are very interesting and scale very different from normal spellcasting archetypes. At level 6, you'll usually have access to the basic bounded spellcasting. This will give you a first level spell slot and a second level spell slot. But upon hitting level 8, you don't get anything else. And then upon hitting level 10, you replace your first level spell slot with a third level spell slot. So a level 10 Magus archetype with basic spellcasting will only have 2 spell slots, a second level and a third level. Additionally, if you are a spontaneous caster, like a summoner, you pick one of your 2 initial spells as a signature spell. When you take the expert bounded spellcasting feat, you don't get a new level of spell. Rather, you get an additional third level spell slot, at least if you take it at level 12. Level 14 is a weird jump. You go from 1 second and 2 third level spell slots directly to 2 fourth and 1 fifth level spell slot. This is kind of a big jump out of nowhere, and I've read this thing 3 times trying to make sure I'm not wrong. But yeah, at level 12, you will have a second level spell and 2 third level spells. And then at level 14, you will have 2 fourth level spells and a 5th level spell. This is really weird advancement, but I'm sure Paizo knows what they're doing when it comes to balance, right? The advancement at 16th level makes more sense. You then have 2 5th level slots and a 6th level slot. Basically, all your slots get upgraded by 1 spell level. Also, if you are a spontaneous bounded caster, you get a second signature spell, which that's pretty cool. As the archetype giving you multiple signature spells, that's fun. And finally, the Master Bounded Spellcasting gives you an additional 6th level slot, so you actually have the same number of slots as a normal bounded spellcaster. Of course, without extra feats and stuff to augment it. 2 5th and 2 6th level spell slots, which once you hit level 20, you lose the 5th level slots and gain the 7th level slots. So a level 20 Master Bounded Spellcasting archetype will have 2 6th level and 2 7th level spell slots. Are you confused yet? Good, because it gets simpler from here. The Magus Dedication requires 14 intelligence and either 14 strength or 14 dex. The intelligence is required, and your other 14 can be in strength or dexterity, doesn't have to be both. The dedication is pretty basic. You learn 4 arcane cantrips, you can prepare 2 of them per day, and you become trained in Arcana. And if you are already trained in Arcana, trained in any other skill of your choice. You're also trained in arcane spell attack rolls and DCs, and your spellcasting modifier is intelligence. Keep that in mind, people. If you're a charisma or wisdom caster with a low intelligence and you want to be this super cool bard magus, you're still going to be using intelligence for your magus spells. Careful when it comes to character planning. There are 3 4th level feats available to this archetype, and only one of them is really going to be taken at level 4. The first one is Basic Martial Magic. You get a 1st or 2nd level Magus feat. This is pretty important because Expansive Spell Strike is a level 2 feat. But this isn't the feat you're going to be taking. The other 4th level feat you can take is Hybrid Study Spell. This gives you one of the focus spells of one of the Magus subclasses. Pretty plain and simple. But that's all you get. You don't get anything else the subclass offers you, just the focus spell. Also worth noting, this feat does not give you another focus point. I thought it always did, which this is weird to me. Usually, a feat will say, gives you a focus point, or if you already have a focus pool, increases your focus points by 1. This doesn't. This only says, if you don't have one, gain a focus point. That should be errata, right? Everything else in the game gives you an extra focus point. Why wouldn't this? And finally, we have the feat that everyone's actually going to take at level 4, Spell Striker. You get the Magus Spell Strike feature. For 2 actions, you attack with a melee weapon and cast a spell all at the same time. Pretty cool. This is heavily limited though, as you can only do it once per minute, and there's no way to get around this restriction. It specifically says, even if you gain another ability that recharges your spell strike, you cannot use it more than once per minute. So unfortunately, that focus spell from Hybrid Study Spell really isn't that worth it, because it doesn't recharge your spell strike. It's just a fancy attack. So Spell Striker, great, you know, getting 1 extra attack per combat that does something special, like a Produce Flame, that's really good, especially because you don't need to worry about recharging your Spell Strike. In the middle of combat, a Magus will need to find the time to recharge their Spell Strike somehow. You just kind of use it and lose it, and then you can just save it for the next fight. That's pretty great. Slight correction, you don't get it back after 1 minute. It takes 1 minute to recharge it. So think of it as like a 1 minute refocus. So out of combat, you take a breath, you recharge, and then you get your spell strike back. At level 6, you have your typical feat expansion upgrade where you can take any feat equal to half your character level. And then it's just spellcasting feats. Basic, Expert, and Master at levels 6, 12, and 18. That's it! That's the Magus archetype. I really hope you weren't expecting more. The feats, I think, is where this is going to get the most action, is you'll take those extra low-level Magus feats, because Magus do have a lot of options at lower levels, especially Expansive Spell Strike. But yeah, you're not going to get a whole lot from this archetype outside of the Spell Strike, but to be honest, that's understandable. Spell Strike is incredibly powerful, and giving that to a fighter once per encounter to produce flame Spell Strike with a Great Axe, I think it's pretty balanced. Now we'll talk about the much more in-depth, complicated, and interesting Summoner Dedication. Long story short, you get an Eidolon from any of the available Eidolons, but they are not special. The Summoner Dedication does not grant the tandem action act together, so you and your Eidolon share your 3 action pool, you share your multiple attack penalty, And unless you take some very specific feats from very high levels, you're not gonna get much better economy. It's of course only trained in unarmed strikes, unarmed nerd defense, and shares your proficiency in saving throws and perception. The big thing that hurts the Summoner Dedication is when you take your Eidolon, any 18 stat in its array becomes a 16 instead. So its primary stat is always going to be weaker, and I don't know how I feel about this, because this means there's going to be a best Eidolon for the Dedication, simply because it's a more balanced array. I think there's an array out there with like 2 16s in strength and dex, and I think that's just going to be outright better. At 5th level, your Eidolon 16 automatically becomes an 18, which is nice, and that doesn't count against the 4 ability boosts you can assign at every 5 levels. So basically, when you hit level 5, you do effectively get 5 ability boosts. One just has to go to their 16 stat, bumping it back up to 18, and then you can apply 4 more as usual. Basic Synergy, level 1 or 2 Summoner feat. Probably going to be an evolution feat of some kind. Luckily, you don't need to wait too terribly long for your Eidolon to become special. At level 4, you get Initial Eidolon Ability, and you can gain the level 1 initial ability for the Eidolon type you chose. At level 6, once again Advanced Synergy, you can take a Summoner feat equal to half your level, and you can take this feat at any level. At level 6, you get Basic Summoner Spellcasting. It's just normal basic bounded spellcasting, however you are a spontaneous caster, and like a normal summoner, your spell tradition is based on the tradition of the Eidolon type you chose when you took the dedication. There's also additional text that because the summoner is a spontaneous caster, whenever you lose a spell slot, you also lose all of the spells associated with that slot, but whenever you gain a spell slot, you gain that number of new spells. So if you lose a first level spell slot, you lose the spell you had at first level, but you gain a third level spell slot, you can then put in any third level spell. Level 12 is a rough feat tax for the archetype, but I understand why it's a feat. If you want your Eidolon to become an expert in unarmored attacks, an expert in unarmored defense, I think I said unarmored attacks, if you want that, you need to spend your level 12 feat on it. What's nice is it does also grant your Eidolon weapon specialization so long as you have it yourself. But a big issue with this is it's in direct competition with Expert Summoner spellcasting, so you're going to need to choose. Do you want better magic, or do you want a stronger Eidolon, or do you just spend another feat down the road also on the other level 12 feat? Level 14 is a very interesting sounding feat, but it's not as flexible as it sounds. You gain 1 of 4 evolution feats for your Eidolon: Airborne Form, Burrowing Form, Ever-Vigilant Senses, or Hulking Size. However, you still need to qualify for that feat. For this feat in particular, your Summoner level is treated as your character level -4. If you take this feat right at level 14, you are only allowed to take Burrowing Form or Hulking Size. Airborne Form requires your character to be level 18, since it's a level 14 Summoner feat. And if you want Ever-Vigilant Senses, you need to be character level 20. So without free archetype, you would be spending your 20th level character class feat on Ever-Vigilant Senses to take it in this manner. So cool. Nice options, cool that you can get some higher level Eidolon feats, but it's really restrictive and only has options at level 14, 18, and 20. And then Master Summoner Spellcasting. And those are the new archetypes available for the new Magus and Summoner classes. They're okay. Also, I'm just going to leave this art of the Alchemist Goblin Eidolon Summoner here because he's adorable and I love his plant. There's symbol matches on his belly and on his hat. Overall, I understand why these archetypes were designed the way they are. Magus isn't that exciting because its one big feature is already so powerful, and the summoner has to be really limited, otherwise there'd be no point to playing a full class summoner. So it's understandable, it's a little bit of a letdown, but Honestly, if you really want that full like Magus Fighter or Summoner Ranger real mesh, I'd recommend playing with the dual class variant rule rather than looking into the archetype. The archetype is great if you just want a couple extra options, but you will never be anywhere close to the efficiency of a full class, which of course is how archetypes are designed, so I don't know why I'm complaining about it. I'm just kind of rambling because I like to listen to myself talk. But let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Do you plan to take either of these archetypes on your own personal character? And have you done any cool theory crafting for how best to make use of them? Let me know. I'd love to hear it. I didn't record my screen. This video just got a lot harder to edit. But that's for future Nonat to worry about. Sucks to be him. Shout out to my patrons for supporting the channel and supporting everything I do. You guys are amazing. I promise I will pay more attention to you as soon as I have more free time to do so. Shout out to Roll for Combat for sponsoring the channel very generously. We love to represent them as a brand on this channel. Definitely check out the link in the description to their whole Battle Zoo collection of books Kickstarter. It's already funded, so you can pre-order it right now. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and until next time, no nat ones.